Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about centering prayer. Centering prayer is a type of prayer or a methodology of prayer. We're going to be folding an origami swan, which is a traditional Japanese model, as a means of assisting us in centering prayer. So first, let's talk about what centering prayer is. It is a very old way of praying. It's sort of a preparatory step, not to replace traditional prayer. You know, the first thing that pops into your mind when someone says, "Pray for me," is bowing your head, maybe folding your hands, and then thinking a message. Centering prayer does not involve thinking or speaking aloud a prayer. But it's not meant to replace that traditional prayer either. What it does is open yourself up to God. Sorry, my dog just jumped up behind me. Centering prayer is a way of preparing yourself, preparing your heart, preparing your soul, preparing your mind for a time of prayer. Okay, so it's not meditation, although it could be used that way. It's not a replacement for prayer, as I said. It is an exercise to center yourself or quiet yourself, quiet your mind, quiet your heart, quiet your emotions. You know, if you're like me, you spend the day pretty much distracted by everything. You spend the day running around. It's a hectic life we lead. And we need those moments to just be still. As Scripture says, be still and know that I am God. So we need help with that. And that's where origami comes in. This is where I use origami. As an assistant to centering prayer, because if you've been running around all day, if you've been stressed at work, and you just try to spend a few moments sitting, your mind's going to keep going, right? The engine's going to keep revving and racing. So I use origami as a way of occupying part of my mind so that the divine God can work in the other parts of my mind and soul. So what we're going to do, we're going to make a traditional swan, the traditional Japanese model of a swan, and we're going to talk a little bit more about centering. So what I'd like you to do, if you're going to work along with this video, is find a quiet place, find a piece of paper. This is ordinary origami paper, but I tell my students that just tear a sheet out of a magazine and square it off. That's all you have to do. And squaring off, by the way, I just mean if it's a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, take a corner, fold it to the edge like that, cut off the bottom piece, and you have a square. So we are going to begin with white side up, and we're going to fold corner to corner. This will set up our center line around which we will build the rest of the swan. Now, when you fold in this exercise, in this centering prayer exercise, do it slow. Make each fold. There's not a lot of folds in the swan, and there's no need to run a race. You're not speed folding. You're not trying to see how many swans you can make in a minute. You're taking time out of your stressful day. Taking time out to just simply be with God. So you now have the center line. Fold the bottom sides, or the two sides, to the middle. Okay? You don't want to go over this center line. You don't want to go over the initial fold right here, but you want to come right up to it. And again, just calmly make your creases. Run a fingernail down them to make them good and sharp. And do the other side. And try to keep your breathing normal. You don't have to do special breathing exercises, although some people do. Someone asked me about breathing, and I said, well, if you want to do it like a Tai Chi exercise, say, then inhale as you're setting up the fold. And then as you run your finger down the side, exhale. But really, normal, relaxed breathing works just fine. Okay? Now, so this is known as a kite base. Okay? It's a very simple base. As time goes on, and I'll put up more videos, I'll also instruct about the other kinds of bases and different kinds of folds. But we're going to stay with the basic swan here, because I find in terms of centering exercises, it's always good to stick with a basic fold. There are times when I do what I jokingly call my lunchtime origami therapy in my office, I like to try something new. I like to try something difficult to challenge myself. But if I'm in a time of prayer, if I am in a time of needing to calm down and center myself, then what I really need is to be with God. More than I need to fold a fantastic looking model. So picking something simple can occupy my hands and my mind enough so that God can work with the rest of me. That way also I'm not constantly racing back and looking at an instruction page and trying to figure out what's going on there. So we're going to fold. I've turned the paper over. We're now going to fold sides to the middle. Okay? Same rule. Go right up to the fold line, but not over it. Okay? Just keep it as neat and tidy as possible, but you don't have to stress over making it perfect. In the long run, it doesn't really matter what you fold in this century prayer exercise. Any model works, but like I said, I choose a simple one to keep my hands busy, keep my mind, part of my mind busy anyway, and open myself up. Again, we're coming right up to it. Leave just a little bit of room for that crease. And that'll become apparent later why we have to leave room. Okay, so. Okay, bring it down to a point. You want to get a good point there. One of the ideas I have about God in my theology is God is creative. I mean, it's a no-brainer, but God is a creative God. God is always doing something new. Scripture points to that. But you could look in the natural world, and right now springtime is, and summer busting out all over Pittsburgh. New birds are flying about, and flowers blooming, rabbits, deer, all over the place here, irritating my dogs to no end. But God is always doing something new. And when we create something, I believe we're getting in touch with God's divine creativity. So, back to the model. And you can let me know what you think about that. But that's one of the operating ideas that I rest this sort of practice on. So we're going to take this bottom point and we're going to put it up here towards the tip of the tail. And you can see I have white showing at the bottom of my, this is going to be the beak up here. And that's okay. We're not stressing out about those things. And I'm just getting a good firm crease down there at the bottom. Okay? Now, as this part's going to be the head, I need to fold a section of it. I'm going to make this one here has kind of a silly small head. So I'm going to do a little bit larger one. We'll see what happens. Again, it's important to not judge yourself as you do this. You know, you can say, oh, this swan doesn't look as good as the one I did earlier, or oh my gosh, this is ugly, or how I can't even fold paper right. Those kind of thoughts are not good for this exercise. So as we fold, it doesn't matter what's going to happen to this model after the exercise, right? It doesn't matter. What matters is where you are in the moment and where God is in the moment. So empty your mind of all those critical thoughts. Take a deep breath and just return to the exercise. We're going to take the form, we're going to fold the model in half along that center crease, okay? And we're almost done here. And we're just making sure all the creases are sharp. Now, the fun part. We're going to grab the head and we're going to pull it up. Now, you might want to start with just the neck at first. When you pull it up, you're just going to squash this bottom part down. Now, you don't want to do a full 90 degrees, straight up and down, because that will make your swan really off-center. And if you look at wildlife, they kind of have their necks tilted back a little bit anyway. Just squash that down. Okay, again. Just a breath, and you're going to pull the head out and then squash that side down. So, you have the swan. Now, normal design, if you look in a book on origami for beginners, you'll see this. This is where it stops. Now, if you want, and you can see I did it with this one here, if you want to change how it looks, make a little more defined head, just open up the bottom, open up the head, just turn it sideways, open up the head, fold down, okay, and then fold back. You want to leave, see, I'm not folding back on the same place. I'm folding back a little bit like that, okay? And then you'll just fold the head back. Well, let's shorten that up. Okay, there we go. Okay, see? And there we go. So, hopefully this makes sense, what we're doing here. And I thank you for watching. And I'd like to hear your comments. I'd like to hear what you think of this exercise. Please use the Contact Me page and shoot me a message. Leave your comments. I'd like to hear what you think, okay? God bless, and have a great day.